Hey guys, for today's appointment, we're going to be doing a blonde conversion, taking my client from an all over heavy highlight to a platinum blonde. So to see how we safely tackle this service, keep watching. You can follow me on Instagram at Kristi at the cottage. Hey guys, so the client that I'm getting ready to do right now is wanting to go platinum blonde, but we only have 4 hours. So the only reason why I'm thinking like we can do this is because she already is naturally like a level 7, 8. And because her hair is already super, super blonde and she has like that much grow out. So I'm feeling like we'll just put it on her, retouch, whatever. The only thing that I really have to worry about is her grow out, because we've done like baby lights. She has really fine pieces of blonde that we've already done, and I already explained to her like it's going to be really hard to not overlap. Like that's the area that I'm really worried about. And as much as I try to prevent breakage, I did explain to her that because there's such fine pieces that I can't possibly like weave out. If we had all day, I might be able to, but we don't. She really just wanted to go for it. So I told her like, you know, there might be a little bit of breakage. I'm just being honest. So she understands that. And I told her, you know, we haven't really overlapped and gone over your hair a whole bunch, but it's always a possibility. And I'd rather just be upfront and honest. So she knows. Looking for a big brush to use. Cover more time faster. Found it. Thank you, Jesus. By Color Track. You guys ask sometimes, and I don't know if this came in like a product box or if it was from the actual beauty supply, but this bigger brush is from Color Track. So because she's so light and I don't want to damage her already previously lightened hair, I'm going to be using Schwarzkopf because it gets good lift. But I'm also just going to be using 7 volume because I don't need that strong of a lightener. And sometimes I feel like 7 volume almost does better job than 20. So right now we're going to mix for that. And so today's service is going to be a platinum transversion. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, bye. And for lifting her hair, we're going to use Schwarzkopf Blondie with just 7 volume and Olaplex. So it's been probably maybe a month and a half, 2 months since I've last done her hair, and you can see that we've done like a really fine foil. We just do really heavy baby lights of some just really fine pieces of hair. That way she has a really even blend with her natural, just little bits of depth coming through her hair. So that's why I was saying that to weave out any of her natural or the previously lightened hair would be really difficult because it's such fine pieces of hair that it would be impossible to grab every little strand and prevent overlapping. So I explained all of that stuff to her, like I said earlier. So we're just going to try and be as cautious and as safe as we can with the service. So we're going to start by applying it on her roots. And if my client had darker hair, probably like anything below a level 5, I would probably insulate her hair with foils. But because her hair is naturally very light, we don't need to insulate anything extra because then it will lift too fast, and we don't want to have this process too quickly because we're going to have lots of different steps that we have to do. You can also see that I'm not touching her hairline yet. I'm going to just brush that aside. The hairline is where the hair is a little bit more fine, and you have to be extra cautious when you're working in that area. So I'm not even going to touch that part yet. I'm just going to pull it aside. And then towards the end of her processing, I'll go back through and hit her hairline just because that will process so much quicker, and I want to be extra safe around the hairline. Also make sure, like you can see right now, I'm pulling some hair over to the side. you can see that she's a little bit brighter up towards the front of the face. So I'm trying to swipe really cautiously around some of those areas where there might be blonde up a little bit closer to the root. So I'm pulling all those pieces towards the front of her face to get out of the way so that I don't get any bleach in that area. So hit the roots, but then also pull aside any pieces that you need to make sure that you're not overlapping any bleach, just to be cautious. And you can see that the whole side of her hairline I haven't even touched yet, so we're still gonna leave that alone until the majority of the application that we're processing is or the application that we're applying right now is processing, and then we'll make sure that we'll do it at a safe point to where it's not gonna cause any damage, and it will finish processing at the same time. All right, so we're just gonna finish up this side and then we'll flip over and start on the opposite side. However, I'm not gonna show you the full application, just a little bit so it's not too repetitive. You might be able to see a little bit better on this side how much of that hairline we're leaving out. Probably about 1/2 inch to like 3/4 of an inch width, just right along the hairline. We're gonna wait to do that application towards the very end. So as we're working our way back up, now that we've done this part of the application, we're just going to check everything and make sure that we have good saturation. And because I am not one for putting any bleach under the actual dryer, I'm just going to put a foil over the top of the head, and that's going to help insulate the heat to help it process. But then also you see my application as I'm going this way, I'm going to start bleaching over the top of the head. And this is just going to help prevent like transferring any bleach where I don't want it. So that's why I like doing the foil on top of the head. That way I can work my way down instead of from the bottom up. I just feel like the hair gets too heavy or it's too hard or whatever. I'd rather get this processing before like the bottom of the head, make sure that this is processing nicely. So that's why I like doing my application this way. Also, you'll see that I'm going back and forth from side to side. I don't like doing one full side and then going back to the other side. I really like to make sure that I'm doing even saturation, that it's processing for the same time so one side doesn't finish before the other. So you'll see me going back and forth so that as I work my way down, so that way everything kind of processes at the same time. All right, and now that we're done with this bottom part of the application, we're just going to wrap the rest of her head up in a foil and let this process for about 20 minutes before I go back through and check and see how our roots are doing, and then we'll go to running the foil through the ends of her hair. Sorry, running the bleach through the ends of her hair. All right, now that she's processed for a little bit, we're just going to check the sides and see how it's coming along. Just take a really quick glance, and then we're just going to start the application on the hairline at the front of the face. Also, remember that the hairline is a little bit more delicate, so I'm not refilling my bleach at this point. I'm using bleach that has sat there for like probably an hour, hour and a half to do this part of the application. I do not want to go in there with full strength, fresh bleach, even if it's just 7 volume. I feel like that might be too strong for the hairline, especially if there's any like minor overlapping or anything. So I'm going to go back through in this area and just apply this lightener that has been sitting for quite a while. It's still going to get good lift, but it's just not, I don't have to worry about it causing any damage. Now that her roots are getting close, I'm going to go through and do her hairline. We didn't apply directly on her roots everywhere, so we're just going to go through and make sure that everything is like bleaching all the way up to her scalp and making sure that we have even saturation. Again, making sure that the bleach is on there really heavy. We're going to start swiping the bleach down through like the midsection at this point. And because of her hair already being super light, I wanted to start like at her regrowth, not on her roots, because we do not want to cause like any chemical reaction or anything. So we were trying to be as cautious as we could to go close to the root or close to the scalp, but not directly on the scalp, except for like maybe as we worked our way down this head or something like that, just to make sure it would catch up if it takes a little bit longer where it's a little bit more darker. So now that we're working our way back up the head, we're going to start at the bottom and start combing the bleach through the ends of the hair. And sometimes I like spraying because I feel like it helps the bleach spread a little bit better, helps it work through the hair a little bit more. So we're just going to, again, put some towels down because we don't want to like bleach our client's clothes or anything. And we're going to start combing the bleach through the ends of the hair. If somebody had really dark hair and they don't have any blonde on their hair at all, then I would always start with the darkest part, like through the ends of the hair underneath and work my way up. But because her hair is so light already, I feel like we have to take this a little bit differently than somebody that has virgin dark hair, where you want to start like in the midsection through the ends, let that process, and then go back through and hit the roots. Because she's so blonde already, it is not going to take long at all for this ends to lighten. So we're going to put the bleach on her scalp first, or not her scalp, but through her like new growth. Let that process go through, start combing through the ends. Because she is so blonde already in some areas, we're not going to run it through the ends at all. Like, I'm going to leave, like, there might be some areas where she needs the lift, but the majority of her hair does not need to have any bleach run through the ends. So we're going to leave that out. So it's really just like the midsection, any of those like areas where she might have like some darker pieces still coming through her hair. That's where we're going to focus on running the bleach through. I feel like some people might look at this and be like, why would that take you 4 hours just to do her regrowth? She's already so blonde. But I feel like there's a difference between somebody that specializes in blonding service versus somebody that just like wants to do the service, and maybe they just aren't aware of how like cautious to be. Like, I still know that there's some hairstylists that will put like 30 volume on the scalp and put them underneath the dryer for like an hour. Like that is so damaging. You can cause blisters on the scalp. Like I've had clients have to go to the hospital because they've had a chemical burn. And I feel like that's the difference between a hairstylist that's just like really trying to get the service in and out. Oh, that looks easy enough. I'll just do a bleach and tone retouch, not that hard, versus like somebody that maybe specializes in blonde, where you can see the different areas where she already has a lot of blonde in the hair. We know that we can't go through and do the hairline yet. That has to be like a different section towards the very end of the application. We have to do her midsection first, then go through, do her roots. We have to let that process. Even though she's really blonde, we still can't run the bleach through the ends. We have to go through and do a separate application for that, where somebody might just be like, oh, she doesn't have that much blonde to lift through. Let's just do her roots and run it through the ends at the same time. That could cause a lot of breakage for how light and how fine her hair is. So even though 4 hours seems like a lot for this service because she's already so light, for all the different steps that we have to take and how much caution we have to be aware of, that's why it takes the time to do like a really good job to prevent causing any damage. You have to make sure that you're doing like treatments and all of that stuff too, making sure you're healing the hair along the process so that when they leave the salon, they're not like, why does my hair feel like a horsetail or like a paintbrush where like the bristles are just so dry and frazzled or whatever. My goal is that when I'm doing the service that you leave still with healthy hair and that it still feels really good. If I feel like if I do a service and you're going to leave with your hair fried, I'm just not going to do it. And sure, yeah, that has happened along the way where you're just like, I did not see that coming. I really thought the hair was going to be in good condition. There might be that like one client every so often where you're like, shit, I really messed that up. Whoops, my bad. And then maybe you discount the service or you just don't charge them or you do conditioning treatments or whatever. But my goal in general is to really make sure that I'm doing your hair. I'm not causing any damage to prevent any breakage from happening. So that's why it takes like all these extra steps where the hair is a little bit more gentle and weaker to make sure that I'm taking the time to set that stuff aside and get it back a little bit later, where then it can like catch up at the very end versus letting it sit for the whole entire time breaking off. Sorry, you guys, you know that I go on a rant sometimes, but sometimes I just got to throw my 2 cents in there because there are people that come in the comments and say, her hair is already so light. It should not take you 4 hours to do a service like this. And so I feel like I have to explain it already instead of just saying it like 10 times in the comments. Like for you, it might take you an hour or 2 hours to do the service because you're just slapping it on everywhere equally. But for me, it's going to take me the 4 hours because I'm trying to really be cautious. So I just wanted to make sure I threw that out there before somebody came in the comments and say, girl, that should only take 2 hours, not 4. All right, now we're going to finish this part of the application, and I like to cross-check my work while I'm applying through the ends. For partial part of the sides of the head of my application, I'm going to be working diagonally forward, and that's going to help me be able to see and cross-check like my other sectionings that I did up the side of the head. I'll be able to notice like, is there any holes in the head that I need to reapply and make sure that there's no like, you know, how people get like those little splotches in the hair where the bleach wasn't like fully saturated. So working diagonally up the sides of the head in some areas is going to help me to check and make sure that my application was clean and that I have good saturation. And then you'll see me as I work my way forward a little bit more, I'm going to switch to going more up the side of the head the closer that I get to the front of the face where the hair is a little bit more fine. All right, now that we're making our way to the very front of the face, this is extremely, extremely, extremely weak bleach. Like, I have to emphasize that so much because I do not want people to see me applying bleach in some of these areas where she's already very light, but she's sitting closer to like a level 9 and we want to try to get her to a 10. So this bleach has been sitting here for a very long time. It's very weak. It's heavily watered down. So this has practically zero lifting power, but just enough to get her past that level 9. I don't want somebody going and making like a fresh bowl of like 20 volume or 7 volume and then pulling the bleach through the ends, especially around the face. You're definitely going to cause damage. So I just really need to make that clear that yes, I'm overlapping in these areas, but this bleach has been sitting for hours at this point. So it's not going to cause any damage. And trust me, I'm checking along the way. Like, I will stop and make sure I'm constantly asking my clients through the whole service, how does your scalp feel? Do you feel like it's irritated? Let me know if it's irritating you too much because we will wash it off right now. Like, you have to make sure that your clients are comfortable in these situations because they will sit there in pain and not say anything. And the next thing you know, they have blisters on their scalp. So I'm constantly asking my clients, even though she's just having like 7 volume on her scalp, if it sits there long enough, it could cause some irritation. So I just always want to make sure that I'm asking my clients if they're comfortable. So just know that I'm not using 20 or 30 volume on her hair. This is like a very weak bleach. It's been sitting for a long time on top of only being 7 volume. So this will cause like minimal irritation, minimal lifting power. So this is the full application. You guys can see that I left the ends out. I let this sit pretty much until like the very last few minutes. And now I'm going to just run it through the ends just to like bust through any of those warm tone level 9s and try to get her just a little bit lighter. And then this really at this point, she's only going to sit for maybe like a few minutes, like 5 minutes or something like that after we get this part of the application on. All right, so this just finished sitting for like 5 minutes or so, just making sure that it's super, super thick. It should look like toothpaste. You should be able to not look through and see the hair. It needs to be like heavily saturated, and that's when you know that you have a good application. So her hair, it still has a lot of warmth in it. She's naturally like kind of a strawberry color, so there is a lot of natural warmth in her hair that we have to work through. I'm going to do a Fanola No Yellow Purple shampoo just to see how it tones the hair, make sure it's not going to grab and be overly porous anywhere, and then also she's going to sit with an Olaplex treatment for about 20 minutes before we tone. Okay, so my client is sitting at the shampoo bowl with Olaplex treatment going right now, and I like to do that so it will help even out the porosity, so she doesn't have like certain areas that grabs a whole bunch or whatever. So because we literally only have 4.5 hours to do this service, I feel like it's really hard to like make sure everything's perfect, which, you know, when you're going platinum, you kind of have to. So I feel like what we're gonna do, because she has some areas that weren't able to sit for very long, and they're still kind of in that level 8, 9, like 8 range. And you have to be honest with your clients. You have to tell them, you have to let them know, and they have to be the ones to make the call. Because when all the set is done and it's dried, and if they see a warm area and they're not happy with it, they're going to be unhappy, and either it's going to come off the price or you're going to have to redo it. So you have to let them know ahead of time, be honest, and just say, like I did, we can either tone your hair to be a little bit darker, or we can tone to be lighter, and just know that there's going to be some warm areas, which we knew going into the service that it wasn't going to be perfect, because we only have a certain amount of time. Like, we don't have all day to make it perfect. So I just told her, like, okay, we'll tone to be a little bit lighter, and then if it's like too obvious of, you know, a warm patch or whatever, because it's really just on the side over here that we got to last for bleaching, we'll just go back through. So, but that's just the name of the game. Like, we don't have 10 hours, we have 4.5, half the time that we normally would take. So so right now we're going to tone. I'm gonna try to tone her a little bit lighter, and I honestly was gonna go through with Paul Mitchell, the Demi, but I feel like Schwarzkopf Agora Vibrance does such a good job of, wait, first of all, do I have enough color? Does such a good job of canceling out warmth. I kind of want to go through with my Agora Vibrance if I have enough toner. I don't know if I do. So I have a 9 and 9-1. And I think I might go through with some 8. Well, actually, 9-5-2-1. Okay, that'll be good. All right, so I'm gonna use like half of my formulation is gonna be the level 9, just because I don't want it to over grab anywhere, because her hair is really porous. And then the rest of it, I'm going to use like a quarter 9-1 and a quarter ounce 9-5-2-1. So that's what we're gonna mix. And I'm going to use, let's see, the Agora Vibrance 6 volume with that for developing, and I'm gonna add some Olaplex into my formulation. All right, so here you can see that even though she has a little bit of those level 8, 9 still in her hair, that it still tones down really nicely. So here's her before, really not that much, you know, grow out, already a lot of lightness in her hair. And then here's her after. I feel like we were able to get her to like a clean, like level 9.5 or so. She was really happy with the hair. Obviously, we knew we had limited time. It wasn't going to be as platinum white and cool as we were wanting to, but I felt like for the time that we had, we did a good job. It turned out nice and even and everything. So for that, like, you know, I think it turned out really, really good. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you liked this video, and don't forget to like and subscribe.